Everyone, on behalf of the Commissioners and staff, I would like to welcome you to the March 18th, 2025 meeting of the City of Roseville Transportation Commission. Would everyone please check your personal electronic devices and make sure they are silent. If you would like to follow along with the agenda, they are available at the end of the staff table here in the green. If you are watching remotely, all the meeting documents are available online at the city's website for the Transportation Commission. If you do plan to speak tonight, please be sure to fill out a yellow speaker card. They're located at the end of the staff table as well, and return it to the staff, please. If you do speak this evening, please only address the commission from the podium. Please refrain from addressing any member of the city staff or any member of the public. Public participation is always welcome, and your questions and comments are always noted. First, I'd like to welcome our newest commissioner, Commissioner Stromberg, sitting at the end of the table. Welcome, sir. And we'd like to welcome back Youth Commissioner Mondell.
Yes.
We appreciate your service coming back for another round.
Very excited.
All right, perfect. Lainey, would you please call
Sure.
roll?
Commissioner Mondal
I am present.
and Commissioner Stromberg
Present.
and Commissioner McGeorge,
Here.
Commissioner Pell,
Here.
Commissioner Probst, Commissioner Radford,
Here.
Commissioner Roberts,
Here.
and Chair Groff.
Here. All right, at this time, I would like to open up the, or actually start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Commissioner Stromberg, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so now I'm going to open it up for public comment. The public comment period is a time for any member of the public who would like to address the commission on any transportation-related item that is not on the agenda. Speakers shall restrict their comments to issues that are within the subject jurisdiction of the Transportation Commission and limit the comments to 3 minutes. The Brown Act does not permit the commission to discuss or take action on issues that are not listed on the agenda. So if you do come up to the podium, please state your name for the record. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address transportation issue not on the agenda? Right, seeing none, I will close the public comment period. The next item on the agenda is approval of the November 19, 2024 meeting minutes. Is there any commissioner that would like to make a motion and a second to approve the November minutes?
So moved.
Commissioner Pell
Second.
and Commissioner McGeorge. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion is approved. The next is requests and presentations. Item 6.1, the appointment of the 2025 Chair and Vice Chair to the Transportation Commission. So tonight, we will be appointing our new 2025 Chair and Vice Chair in one motion. I can tell you that I've been the chair for the last year, and it's been a very good experience. So I appreciate all the input and the help from staff. It's been a good time. Commissioners, would anyone like to make nominations for 2025 Chair and Vice Chair for the position within the commission? At this time, what we do is we'll open it up for our input. According to the Brown Act, we can have conversation, and anybody across the commission that would like to give any input about nominating any positions for Chair and Vice Chair?
Through the chair, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Pell for chair, and I believe Mr. Probst for vice chair would be my recommendation and my motion.
Commissioner Radford nominates Commissioner Pell for chair, and Mr. Probst for vice chair. Let's see. Anybody else have any discussion? Mr. Probst and Mr. Roberts?
Nothing. No.
No input, Mr. Probst?
No. I do recommend Commissioner Pell. I think he'd make an outstanding chairman.
Okay.
Thanks, Commissioner Probst. Appreciate that.
And Commissioner Pell, do you have any input?
No, I appreciate the nomination, Commissioner Radford.
Okay. Commissioner McGeorge, any input?
No, I think that the two gentlemen would do a great job at it.
Okay, so at this time, I'd like to open up the item for the nominations officially. Commissioner Radford, can you please restate your nominations?
Certainly, Commissioner Groff, I would like to nominate our current Vice Chair, Commissioner Pell, to be our Chair for the 2025 Calendar Transportation Commission, and Commissioner Probst as our Vice Chair, and that is my nomination.
So motion for Commissioner Pell for the chairman, motion for Commissioner Probst for the vice chair. Do I have a second for those two gentlemen?
I'll second.
And that was Mr. Roberts for a second. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And, oh, sorry, we need to do public comment first, right?
Sure.
Okay, so before we take that vote, we're going to open it up for public comment on this item. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the commission for these two nominations? Okay, seeing none, so I'll close the public comment. And now we'll take the vote. Vote is for Commissioner Pell for chair and Commissioner Probst for vice chair. Commissioner Radford has made the motion. Can I get a second? And that was from Mr. Roberts. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, congratulations to Commissioner Pell, who will be the 2025 chairman, and Commissioner Probst for vice chair.
Thank you.
All right, next item is the short-range transit plan overview. This is an informational item only. No action is required on the part of the commission. Staff, can we have your presentation?
All right. Thank you, Chair Groff. This evening, we're happy to have Mike Costa from the Placer County Transportation Planning Agency to give us an overview on the short-range transit plan. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Ed, and good evening, Mr. Chair, commissioners, and members of the public. My name is Mike Costa. I'm a principal transportation planner with the Placer County Transportation Planning Agency, or PCTPA for short. I'm excited to be here. I know I've been before the commission in previous efforts to do unmet transit needs, and so actually this effort that we're doing now, the short-range transit plan, kind of builds upon or is complementary to that process. So I'd like to explain a little bit about that and where we're at today. Next slide, please. So what is the short-range transit plan? So if you, as the commission, recall, the city of Roseville conducted a comprehensive operational analysis of all of its transit services that concluded actually with council's approval earlier this year. Well, at the same time that was being done, Placer County Transportation Planning Agency also had conducted a comprehensive operational analysis of the services for Placer County Transit and Auburn Transit, and that was done in complement with the City of Roseville's efforts. So we worked very closely with your staff to make sure that our efforts and our transit services and the plans that we had proposed in the comprehensive operational analysis, that they aligned with each other. So now we're at the exciting phase where we're actually taking those service plans and looking forward to implementing those service changes over the next 5 years. That's what a short-range transit plan does. And so we're taking the results from our efforts that we did for Placer County Transit and Auburn Transit, as well as the efforts that the city of Roseville did for Roseville Transit, and we're combining them into one comprehensive, integrated, and coordinated short-range transit plan. And that effort is going to essentially wrap up in the summer of this year. Next slide, please. So a lot of what we've done, I'm not going to go through each of those scope items, but a lot of really what we're trying to do and what we did in the comprehensive operational analysis is really look at creating a unified and coordinated transit network across the South County Placer region. And so that is something that, it's not easy. There are a lot of jurisdictional limitations in some cases. There's different policies and different procedures that different operators follow. And so what we're really trying to do with this effort is look at where can we combine policies, where can we look at making it easier for the transit rider to cross systems or utilize the systems in place. So that could be anything from fare integration to looking at the way that we brand certain things like like signage or marketing efforts, and then also looking at schedules and different efforts related to Americans with Disability Act eligibility procedures and that sort of thing. So we're really going to be looking at those things after these service plans now are in place. We're going to be looking at how can we make it easier for the members of the public to benefit from these services. Next slide, please. So what we've done already to date with your staff at the city, as well as the other transit operators and other stakeholders in this region, which include the other jurisdictions like Lincoln, Rockland, Auburn, those places, is we've actually looked at, of course, what our transit ridership's needs are, who's using the system. Also, what is essentially the performance of the existing system and what can we do to improve some of that performance, really looking at ways in which we can make the trip, again, more desirable for the user. So that could mean in some cases making the trip simpler, more direct, or making the trip faster in some cases. We looked at, of course, establishing performance standards, goals, and objectives in our respective comprehensive operational analysis plans, and so we're going to continue to follow those goals and objectives moving forward in the short-range transit plan. And then again, we're looking at what is this going to cost us to operate, both on the capital side of things as well as the operational aspect of the services. Next slide, please. So just, again, high-level estimates, and these are going to be refined over time as part of the short-range transit planning effort, but looking at just the services provided for Auburn Transit and Placer County Transit, we're looking at an increase of around $175,000 a year in increased services, which we estimate will lead to an additional 34,000 boardings each year for the Placer County Transit, Auburn Transit services. For Roseville Transit, again, these are estimates. They're going to be refined, and some of these estimates are actually based on numbers that we had before Roseville went out for their operations contract bid, and so that'll get refined once those numbers are finalized. But essentially, we're looking at an additional around $1 million in additional cost to operate Roseville services over the next year, with around 95,000 more boardings. And that doesn't include some of the rapid link costs that are anticipated to start once that service begins, running from Lincoln all the way down to the Watt I-80 Light Rail Station. And again, caveat, these are numbers that are going to be refined through the short-range transit planning process. Next slide, please. This is just a very high-level map of all of the services proposed in one illustration, essentially. So you can see the connections that our different operations have. A lot of connections, of course, being made in the city of Roseville, considering that Roseville has many of the services that our transit riders need, whether it's large commercial shopping areas or the medical centers here in Roseville. We found that a lot of the demand for services and the trips that we saw in the county were being made to or from some location and usually ended up here in Roseville to some extent. So that's something that you can see a concentration of our services both offered by Placer County Transit and Roseville at certain transfer locations, the Galleria being a main transfer location. You have other transfer locations like Sierra College. You have a new transfer location which is established in Lincoln where the Rapid Link will begin. And then you have other transfer locations up a little higher up the hill in Auburn with services with Auburn Transit and Placer County Transit. And of course you can also see the shaded areas are the dial-a-ride zones and where they interact with each other. So we're also looking at policies to make it easier potentially for some of the dial-a-ride users to transfer from one system to the next, knowing that many of those might not be able to use some of the fixed route services that are available. Next slide, please. So what are some of the things that we're looking at in terms of our outreach activities for the short-range transit plan? So one thing is we do have a website that's dedicated for the short-range transit plan and all the documents that we produce for that effort, including the comprehensive operational analysis materials that have been published. If you go to PCTPA's website and you see that link right there. We do actually have a survey that is live, currently available through March 28th, that we encourage anybody, including Roseville residents, to take, because it will help us to inform some of the decision-making processes around that fare integration, joint marketing, et cetera, types of services that we're looking at in the short-range transit plan. And then we do have a fact sheet that's available for the project that we've distributed to all of our partners and stakeholders to distribute out to some of their transit-dependent constituents that they deal with. Next slide, please. One of the things that we've worked on to date is looking at capital assets and what are the needs for our different transit services. Here in Roseville, we do have both facility needs coming up as well as capital fleet replacement needs for buses here in Roseville that we've worked with Roseville staff to determine, as well as the other staffs for the other transit operators, so we can kind of estimate a rough cost for what is it going to cost us in the capital facilities and fleet replacement needs moving forward in the next 5 years. Next slide, please. Looking at just Roseville, there are several different facility needs that are going to be looked at in terms of electrification for certain transfer locations, such as the Lewis Orlando site, as well as Roseville's Corporation Yard, to again help with the transition to zero-emission vehicles in the near future. Looking at as well as replacement for bus stops and facilities related to those. Looking at fleet replacements, both for commuter side of things and as well as local fleet replacements and even dial-a-ride. And then looking at even equipment replacement needs, such as I know the transition to open source fare payment, which is going to allow people the ability to tap with their credit card to pay for fares, which we currently don't have anywhere in our systems here in South Placer region. Next slide, please. This is, again, a very preliminary estimate of some of the capital costs that we've identified currently. This will be refined further in our process over the next several months, but you can see that for the city of Roseville, we're looking at a total of approximately $19.1 million in needs for capital in the next in the short range transit plan in the next 5 years. And you can see the other operators there on the screen as well, to the tune of around $39 to $40 million in other needs for the other two operators. Next slide, please. One of the strategies, again, that we're looking at, I kind of alluded to in the beginning of this presentation, is that, again, we're looking at what is a way that we can make it easier for the transit user to cross multiple systems in our region. Think of it as a one regional network provided by 3 operators. That's kind of our common goal that we've been working on with all of our stakeholders in this effort. And so some of those strategies could include, again, fare integration, branding, improvements to bus stop signage, looking at trip planning, that sort of thing. Next slide, please. And the next slides that you will see actually kind of give a little bit of examples of initial ideas of what we need to still flesh out with some of our stakeholders. But these are things that we're thinking of maybe looking at joint performance metrics that we can look at as a team to assess our services over the next 5 years. Trip planning, there are applications out there, mobile-based applications, web-based applications that take vehicle location devices that most of our operators have on their vehicles and use that data to then transmit live tracking capabilities. So we're looking at that for the assistance of being able to track our buses and services across the region, across all 3 operators. And then again, looking at examples of branding, you see up in the C illustration that is actually an example from an agency up in northwestern Oregon called the Northwest Connector, where they have multiple operators that are branded under one common branding called Northwest Connector, but then they all retain the 5 operators or 4 operators all retain their own unique branding as well. So it makes it easier for the public to find resources for all of the operators, but then each operator still maintains some level of autonomy. They still make their own decisions, but it has some unified branding that helps, again, with trip planning purposes and members of the public for understanding the service. Next slide, please. And then looking at other things like fare capping, how can we make it easier potentially for users that are crossing multiple systems and paying multiple fares, and looking at discounted fare registration processes and other simplified methods for identifying discount categories for some of our fares like seniors and youth and that sort of thing, unifying some of those policies. Next slide, please. So where are we going in the next steps, in the next couple of months? Again, looking to finish this process in the summertime. We will be concluding the survey at the end of this month. March 26th is when that survey concludes. We'll take the data from that survey. We will meet with the city staff as well as the other stakeholders that are part of this effort to refine some of our assumptions and look at further those different strategies that I mentioned in a previous slide, and then look at refining some of the cost estimates we have for both the capital and operating needs for our transit operators over the next 5 years. And then again, solidifying it in one document that looks at creating that integrated and coordinated transit service network for the South Placer region. So next slide, please. With that, again, I appreciate the time today to be able to speak to the commission. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And again, I appreciate all the efforts and recognize the city staff for their coordination. Again, we couldn't do this without our partners. This is not my project. This is a project that's meant to help the region and the users in the region of our transit services. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it, sir. So what I'm going to do at this time, I'd like to open up this item for public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the commission on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll close public comment. And commissioners, do you have any questions or comments for staff? And we'll start with Mr. Stromberg.
No questions.
Sir?
Nothing here. Thanks for the information.
No questions. Thank you, Mike.
No questions, just a comment. I like that you have the barcode. We can scan it and take the survey. I don't know if anybody's got a little cheat sheet that we could put up before people leave if they want to take the survey. Very user-friendly. It's on the website, too. So, thank you, Mike.
Mr. Bell?
Surprisingly, I have comments. So I think this is awesome. I think it's fantastic. I think we've talked about this for a while, but like integrated transit network has a lot of discussion around it. I think regionally, I mean, there's an organization, Seamless Bay Area, that's talking about this with a much larger geographic area and many more agencies involved. And from experience, like as a user, especially like if I'm traveling somewhere, I don't really mind who takes me where I need to go. I just need to get there. I think a lot of the Seamless Bay Area was looking at like Zurich and how they work there, where you have multiple operators, private companies operating these trams trams, buses, everything under a unified system, but still with their own companies. I think there's some interesting things to look at there with kind of regional coordination agencies or regional agencies. Maybe that's through a JPA or something that can help coordinate the individual organizations underneath that, but it's fantastic. The one question I do have, and you mentioned one of them, but are there similar sized regions locally or in the U.S. that have been doing the sort of thing that you're looking at for inspiration?
That's a very good question. The Northwest Connector is actually a really interesting model to look at because they do have, like I said, I believe it's 4 operators. I believe it used to be 5, but now it's down to 4. And again, they all retain autonomy as transit operators, but they do have a joint powers authority that looks at some of those decision-making processes when it comes to evaluating performance, service assessment. They help with regional branding. They help really to get information out about all of the transit operators in a manner that looks at the user and not necessarily focuses on one operator or the other. So I think that's a very relevant model that we've been exploring. They're the only one to that nature. I know you mentioned Seamless Bay Area, MTC, which is the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, is a big leader in that effort. Locally, we do actually have the Tahoe Truckee Area Regional Transit Service. That is a combination of the town of Truckee, I should say, and the Placer County. They provide TART services where they also have kind of a coordinated situation, a regional brand, even though it's 2 separate operators in that case. So there are some models to follow, and then Southern California has some interesting models to look at, but we're exploring all of that to see what works here.
That's fantastic. Thanks very much. Nice job to PCTPA staff and Roseville staff for working with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no questions this time. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Ms. Mondale?
Sorry. I have no questions as well, but I think this idea is spectacular, considering that, I mean, as residents, there's a lot of information that gets in and out, and I think I just assume that things are interconnected, but I know that in business and then in transportation, that's clearly not the case always. So I'm glad this is happening, especially with all the ideation of making sure the bus maps are more clear and having apps that are usable, especially as Roseville is growing and as West Roseville is growing too. So thank you.
Just one thing that I want to encourage everybody that's watching to do, and everybody here in the audience, is to do the survey. The more people that we can get to take the survey, the better sample we're going to have, the more credible the survey is going to be, the more accurate the needs are going to be met. So anybody and everybody who can just spend a few minutes taking the survey, especially if you're a rider, if you don't vote, kind of conversation can you have? So, so this kind of goes true with this one as well. So everybody, please take their survey.
And Chair Groff, if I may add, for the survey, for those that do take it, there's an option at the very end that you can register to win one of 4 $50 Safeway gift cards. I should have thrown that out there earlier, but that's one incentive that we hope, again,
Dangle it
appreciate the
carefully.
time that people take.
So how many times can we take the survey? I'm kidding.
We'll know.
I'm kidding.
Buy a dozen eggs.
Is there anybody else that has any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, thank you, sir. We will move on to the next item. So the next item, 6.3, Roseville Transit Comprehensive Operational Analysis Update. This is an informational-only item, no action. And staff, can we have your presentation?
Yes. Hello again. Thank you, Chair Groff. Back in November, the commission recommended approval of the comprehensive operational analysis for Roseville Transit. And on February 5th, the city council did approve the COA. And so we thought that it would be a good time to give an update on the COA because the implementation plan is about a 2 to 3 year process. So at this point, I was going to hand it off to Rich Frost, our transit operations supervisor. He and Raul have been doing most of the work behind the scenes. There's a lot of work that goes into this and a lot of work that will go into it. So I'll hand it off to Rich at this point to give you an update.
Great. Thanks, Ed, and good evening, commissioners. The short-range transit plan that Mike was just discussing kind of mirrors some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about tonight as far as the COA is concerned. There's definitely some interconnection there, so that's really a big portion of our process. So as we progress down the COA path, I wanted to provide just a quick update regarding our progress and our next steps. As noted early on, our primary objective of the COA process is to increase the frequency of our commuter and local routes, in addition to establishing a zonal format for our Aero paratransit service, with the ultimate goal of reducing long wait times throughout our entire transit system. I'm happy to announce that the first phase of our COA is our commuter enhancements. It will be rolled out on Monday, April 21st. The revisions to our commuter service will include a more streamlined direct travel path from Roseville to downtown Sacramento and reverse. The changes will also include a new stop at the May Lee State Office Complex. We've received numerous requests to add this location to our improved routes, so I'm happy that we made that addition. And when I say requests, I'm probably talking anywhere from 20 to 25 passengers I've been responding and corresponding with over the past 6 months. So expect some good ridership improvements there, as well as you know.
Could you tell more, Maylee?
Oh, where Maylee is, it's the new state office complex that's going to be off of Richards Boulevard. So as far as the map is concerned, it's actually going to be right at the very end of that. So, so we're going to have 8 routes going there in the morning and 8 routes going there in the afternoon. So it's, like I say, a lot of passengers are very excited about that process. And so we're pretty excited to get that implemented. And it has been previously approved already by the commission as well as city council. So good stuff going on. And as some of you may know, that the state workers will be going back to work starting at the beginning of July. So I've also had no less than a dozen to 20 different email correspondence with various folks that are going to be going back and saying, hey, are you guys going to be increasing service and what are you doing? And with the streamlined service that we're going to be having, I think there's going to be a lot of happy passengers through this commuter process. So again, very excited about it. One of the things that we're doing is kind of cutting down some of the stops that we go throughout Roseville itself. So for example, if you took one of our routes from Mahaney, you might have to make 4 or 5 other stops within Roseville before you even leave the city Roseville limits. In this case, it's going to be much more of a direct connect where you're going to go, we're going to hit one stop, we're going to hit Mahaney and be heading straight downtown on 3 of our routes. So be greatly expedited, and again, a lot of happy campers, a lot of happy emails I've received on that so far. So Regarding our Rapid Link, Mike talked a little bit about that, but our original hope was to start completing the new runs in April of this year. However, we continue to experience delays with the arrival of our buses that are specifically designated for this service. At this point, our current target date to begin the regional service is in late summer or early fall of this year. So that's where we're targeting at this point. So. Changes with our commuter service well underway. We will be focusing on the next phases of our local and aero adjustments. Some of these changes will include adding zones to our aero service and reviewing the best way to address the changes to our local service. Streamlining these services is one of our key objectives during this next phase, while ensuring communication and education remains a top priority for our passengers. One of the things that we've really put in, again, on the top of the list is making sure that our passengers understand what's going on prior to any changes being made, because we really look at that as an imperative to the success of our service as a whole, is making sure our passengers know what's going on. So it's a big part. We've been working real closely with marketing on that. Next, we wanted to provide a quick update regarding our RFP process. So over the past year, ATO staff has worked extremely hard to complete an RFP or request for proposal process to acquire an operational contractor to run our daily bus service. After an intense and detailed review of all submissions, I'm excited to announce that MV Transportation, our current operations contractor, has been staff recommended to continue running the Roseville transit service. We are currently reviewing all aspects of the service with MV's management staff to ensure all details of the new contract are being addressed. Once complete, we will present the signed agreement to the City Council for final approval, and April 16th is actually the date that we're shooting for at this point. And I also just kind of want to acknowledge David Mack. I think he's in the back of the room there. He's the general manager for MV Transportation, and we're really in daily correspondence regarding any number of different things. This is a man that works anywhere from 12 to 14-hour days oftentimes to make the operation work. And David, you know, you're doing a great job. We really appreciate everything that you do for our system. So, you know, it's one thing to kind of put some plans together, but you have to make it happen on the daily. So we really appreciate that. So that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, sir, appreciate it. So at this time, we'll open it up for public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the commission on this item? And you'll have 5 minutes, and you're to address the commission only and not any member of staff or public.
My name is Peter Eklund. I'm a resident of Rockland, but I followed the transit plans for both systems over the last couple of years. I'm very much impressed by what Roseville has done. It's going to be interesting because you're doing a whole new concept, and it's going to be interesting to see how the public responds to it. It seems to be favorable, but it's great because you're basically have integrated your dial-a-ride with the transit routes. You have direct routes, and you've eliminated all your loops. In fact, this first time I talked to the contractor, he said direct routes, get rid of all the loops, and so you're getting really good service on your routes. It's going to be great. But what the zones are is to feed into and out of the fixed routes. So it's going to be important how that works. You know, the amount of time that people have to wait at those. You're going to have to develop some really good stops, and you're going to have to monitor. Short-range transit plans only come up every 7 years. In the last 7 years, nothing happened in PCT, really, or Roseville in terms of monitoring what's going on or kind of looking ahead. I'm referring mostly to PCT, but less so to to Ed and his people. They do a good job. But the point is there needs to be some monitoring to make this concept, which is a really good concept, to make sure it works. And the other thing that Roseville has to deal with, you've got all this new development occurring, you know, Placer Vineyards and also in the area of the county. And that, you know, I drive around a lot in Roseville, and there's a lot of going down there. At some point, those people are going to want transit of some sort. And it's going to be on an arterial, it's going to be a route. Nobody's figured out how that's going to be done. And unfortunately, there's no TDM in the sense of residents coming in and developers agreeing to help pay for transit operations. You know, lots of other places do this. When you have major developments, you know, sometimes just to start things going, but you need to find some way to increase the operation, you know, the operational revenue, and that can be done through some TDM. It's very important. And in terms of integration, the PCT contract for the first part didn't even have the word. It just used coordination. It was not integration. There are parts of Rockland, West Rockland, which has 2/3 of the population, doesn't have any commuter service at all. It would just be a short little adjunct to kind of put one of the 8 new routes to serve a public park, which worked well for Roseville. You could have all the revenue. Take all the revenue. You know, you could probably break even. But that's not going to happen until there needs to be more of a coordination between not just the operators, but between the cities and the people like yourselves to make more of an integration work. Great study was done in 2008 saying that integration of operators was inevitable, and they had a step-by-step way to do this. It has to happen. You look at Rockland and Roseville, all of the stuff back and forth. That should be one operator, and then throw Loomis and Lincoln into it, just one operator. And that's going to happen. 75% of the issues for all of those systems is because of of different operators. And right now there's no integration. It sounds like nice, but this doesn't exist. Rockland is $11 million project. There's not one stop for the rapid link that is even, well, it's close to Rockland, but it goes right alongside. But the previous director of PCTPA said that he would guarantee there would be no stop in Rockland for rapid link. And it's going to have terrible ridership. It only has 3 stops between the 30-minute service all day for 3 stops between the ends. And in fact, it's only going to get, the estimate is only 3 riders per vehicle hour. When you put that thing into service, please just do it on an hourly basis first and see how it works. Before you go to 30 minutes, because at the end of 3 years, you have to make a decision, and I think it's doomed to fail. Why? You know, change it now before you make it as good as you can, but don't let it operate the way it's been planned, because it's going to 3 riders per hour. That's going to be the lowest route in your entire system.
Thank you, Mr. Eklund. We've got your comments. Appreciate you. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to come up and make a comment on this agenda item? Good evening. Your name, please?
It's Muriel Moore, and I'm a Roseville resident. And I just want to say that we know of all the growth in West Roseville, but I just want to emphasize that don't overlook East Roseville. West Roseville has newer families, younger people, who do have the transportation, even with grandma in the house too, but they do have the transportation. East Roseville doesn't. Kirby and Sunrise is where their shopping is, that area, which 30 years ago, they were younger families. Now they are seniors. They can't even get to the Maidu Center because they can't drive. So when you're putting your transportation plans together for the city of Roseville and the surrounding communities, don't forget East Roseville, who desperately needs that transportation, as I say, because many of them don't drive. They walk 4 and 5 and 8 blocks to get to that Safeway store, and that's unforgivable. That's too bad. Yeah, so just don't forget them. Yeah, okay. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, ma'am.
Your plans.
Or is there anybody else from the public that would like to make a comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment, and we'll open it up to the commissioners for questions for the staff. We'll start at this end. Ms. Mendel?
I do have a question on the zoning. So can you explain to me more simply what the benefits of the zoning is for both, I guess, on the business side and also for the riders?
You want me to take that? Okay. Yeah, so what the zones do, we're going to have, right now, let's just say we have a passenger that calls for a pickup off of Fitament and Blue Oaks, and they want to go to Sutter. So I have a route that's sitting, let's say, off of Douglas. It's going to take 20 minutes to get over to that location to pick them up, another potential 35 minutes to get them to Sutter based on the time of day and those type of things. What the zones are going to do is we're going to have specific dial ride or arrow routes that's going to be residing in each one of those individual zones. So when we get a call for a pickup, we'll be able to respond, hopefully within the next 5 to 10 minutes type of thing, pick them up and get them to that, either a fixed route and get them connected up to a direct connect to where they're going to, or they might have, back up a little bit, as far as the seniors or ADA is concerned, they're still able to cross all zones, okay? And the reason we did that is because having some of our senior folks having to transfer from one bus to another, we consider to be somewhat onerous. So we're still going to have that. But as far as the general public and those that are able to viably transfer, they'll be able to get from one zone to another a whole lot quicker than what the previous or the current paradigm is.
That makes it more clear. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. McGeorge?
Thank you for the update. It's a shame that sounds like the buses got delayed in being built, but glad that's still working. And with hearing that all the government workers are going to have to go back, I think it's a win-win for us, to have all these new routes that are going to be going downtown. I think it's great for everything, and I think it'll improve ridership tremendously. Other than that, I'm excited to see where we go from here.
Mr. Bell?
Yeah, I had 2 questions. I think previously we discussed there's some sort of a process for route changes due to like FTA requirements. Can you describe what that's going to look like over the next few months? And then secondly, it's a slightly different topic, but I think we had discussed these delays with the Rapid Link buses. Had we gone towards electric vehicles for Arrow now that we have new on-demand zones, or is that still something we're working on out of this?
I'll take the first one. So as far as the outreach, we have Title VI requirements, which are an FTA mandate that basically requires us to do a significant outreach process. So it will all accumulate with us having a public hearing here in front of the commission. So any of the changes we do, the commuter we did not have to do because we don't have dial ride service that mirrors that. But all of our local service, we will have to do that. So anything after commuter will come through the commission. The commission will approve it. We'll have a public hearing and a nice thorough presentation for you. So you'll see it all going forward.
Great.
You want that?
Yeah, on the Aero paratransit side, we actually have 12 buses, or 12 vans, I should say, electric vans, that ETA is probably within the summertime is what we're looking at this point. They're currently getting, actually having an extra battery pack placed on all of the vans in order to give us an extra 30 to 40 miles. So one of the restrictions we're looking at was a typical electric van goes about 80 to 90 miles right now. So the extra battery packs that are being placed on the vans currently will give us that extra stretch that we're actually going to need. So we're really excited about that piece. I was dealing with marketing today, as a matter of fact, regarding the logos and how the marketing piece is going to work on the side. They're going to be real pretty, and yeah, so within the next 3 months, we should be getting those in place.
And if I could elaborate on that, the Rapid Link buses have been delayed, but we have 5 commuter buses, electric commuter buses that have not, well, they've been delayed long-term, but we have 2 that are with us now. We have 2 that are in transit right now, and we should get them within a week or so. And our 5th bus is expected near the end of the month. So we will have 5 new commuter electric buses that will replace like our are 2,000 buses, and they basically started the year 2000. So that'll be a nice improvement for the commuters, when we start our new service. We're hoping to hopefully have those buses in service at that time as well.
So you get a new shiny ride to downtown.
Yes.
Sounds great.
That's the plan.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Radford?
Thank you, Commissioner. I'd like to commend the young lady who spoke very eloquently from the east side. Lewis and I call it the Oakmont side of town, but very valid points and concerns. I think I was thinking of information pamphlets would be good, because I know some people hand it to them. They're not going to navigate the smartphones. I mean, I'm not very good at it, and it takes me twice as long as my wife. But I think that'd be good to hand to them about the Aero Transit, and I think that would be terrific resources that we have here. And it's daylight savings time. It's easier to get around, but a lot of our meetings, they start at 6 and it's dark. So again, I want to commend them for coming out, and we hear you. And I think the city and staff does a good job of making sure everyone has a chance. And the survey, and that'd be great. I know Mike's still around. Their opinion would be very needed. So that's all the, I guess, grandstanding I want to have on that. But I did have a question on the contract. This is a 3-year contract for the management and operation of the various trends. Is that correct? Is that what we annually, 3-4 year? What's the duration?
For the transit RFP?
For the request for proposals, we were looking for somebody to operate it, and I believe MV is.
It's actually a 5-year contract with options for up to another 5 years.
Oh.
So it could be up to 10 years if everything goes as, if we're happy with the service after 5 years.
Okay.
So.
Sounds like we got somebody that knows our system, does a good job, and I got to ask, did we have anybody else that threw their hat and tried to throw their services at us?
Yeah, we did have a couple other contractors that provided proposals. And again, the evaluation process is just really intense.
Sure.
And I got a few more gray hairs, if that's even possible, through the process. But yeah, we did. And we actually, out of the 3 that actually presented proposals, we interviewed two of those. Again, a pretty intense process. But in the end, MV came out on top. They did a really good job. And I was talking with a lot of their senior staff today as we're into contract negotiations currently. And just kind of made note of how, they didn't take this process for advantage of the process, thinking, well, we're the incumbent, so we stand a really good chance of getting the renewal of the contract. But they actually put their best foot forward and really did a great job at the proposal themselves. And financially, they came in lower than the other competitors as well. So it was kind of a win-win there.
Well, thank you for your thorough dealings of that and your transparency. We appreciate the job you do on our behalf.
Absolutely.
Mr. Probst?
Thanks for the presentation, Mr. Frost. I can proud to say that I've been a rider of the Roseville commuter bus for about 15 years now. And MB Transportation, you guys do an outstanding job. I just wanted to commend your drivers. This is not an easy thing to drive a commuter bus into Sacramento with all the moving parts, the one-way streets, the myriad construction delays, and your drivers are just outstanding. So I wanted to commend you on that. I know how hard it is to find quality people to do a tough job like that, and they're really on top of their game. So I'm excited about it. One of the things I wondered is the 8 routes in and out, is that going to be fully rolled out in July, or is that?
Yeah, actually, April 21st. They're going to be fully rolled out then. So,
Okay.
Again, I've met with marketing twice this week already regarding how we're communicating that to our passengers, and so really excited about it.
Okay. Well, thank you, because I can tell you that on my bus ride home today, it was as crowded as it's ever been, and it was a little bit uncomfortable for a lot of people. They had to stand, and everyone's kind of bantering, when are we going to get more buses? And
We
so the
are,
demand's definitely
yeah.
there,
And it's ironic, we're not quite back up to pre-COVID, but we do have a couple routes where we have standees only. And so the original plan with our COA was to start off with 6 buses. We kind of moved it up to 7 as we're getting more feedback. Now we're up to 8. And with the open possibility of looking at 9 or 10 if that's what our passengers need. And so the evaluation process that went on relative to when the pull times of the buses, that was pretty intense as well. I mean, we had surveys, we had previous data, we had a lot of emails. So a lot of work went into making sure that those times are when our passengers actually need us to travel. And so hopefully it's going to really work out well. But again, the good thing is I think we can adjust those fairly easy if the need continues to rise like it has been.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to say the gap between need and government delivering is pretty small here. So commend you and thank you once again, MV.
And as a side note, today is Driver Appreciation Day. So we put together a whole bunch of bags, ATO did, and we brought them over, a bunch of goodies. And I know MV did a nice big barbecue today for all the drivers and all the staff over there. And so, of course, I had to go sample everything, so that was good too. And so, yeah, so that was great.
Good timing, Commissioner Probst. Mr. Roberts.
Thank you for the presentation. We've been talking about this COA for a long, long time now, so it's fun to see we're on the other side of it now, and we're going to watch a lot of these ideas we've been talking about get implemented. So I guess that just in general is exciting to me because you guys have been discussing some pretty innovative ideas with technology and Aero and apps and open source paying and like all these cool things. And I think it's just going to be fun to kind of watch all that stuff start to implement and roll out over the years now that it's all put together in a plan. And I guess I was appreciative of the comment that you made about marketing and outreach, because I think, as you said, it's very, very important. The marketing and the outreach and the communication to the ridership is, I think, obviously very key to make sure that everybody understands that the buses go in different directions now. So I'll be interested to see what kind of strategies there are for marketing and outreach just to get the word out before everything really starts to hit the ground running.
Yeah. One of the additional marks we're making actually is we're working with staff to do some one-on-one marketing, to go to Eschaton, Del Webb, even one-on-one with passengers that need extra help with the phones, for example, and some of the different nuances associated with the whole change process. So we're going to be putting some additional workforce out there in order to make sure that that is well communicated, at least to the best of our ability to do so.
That's great to hear.
Mr. Stromberg?
Yeah, so it's a question and a comment. I think one of the things that I frequently hear from coworkers in Sacramento and other things is that the public transportation system in Roseville just can't work for them for one reason or another. I looked at your route map and I see that it pretty much circles the general capital area, and I think that works for a great subset of state workers. But there's Roseville residents who work all over Sacramento. And I don't know if it's ever been considered, but have you guys ever considered doing a drop or even a route that goes to major light rail stations so that that could be kind of like a middle mile and they can hop on last mile to get to their final destinations around Sacramento and increase ridership that way?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, the existing route does go by a number of the light rail stations. And then when we get down to the Melee Center, it'll tie in with the Green Line. Actually, the pickup is right there at a light rail station. So there's that, I think 12th and I, and then I think also you get down near the Capitol, there's a couple of the stops that even if they're not dropped right off in front, it's like a 1-block walk. So we do hear that once in a while. And also just the Rapid Link, when we open that up, that'll be a separate bus service that goes directly to the Watt I-80 light rail station on weekdays. So that would be another option as well for people that may want to just catch it at Watt I-80 and then go downtown to South Sac or out to Folsom or whatever they want to use it for.
Yeah, thank you. That answered my question because I did have kind of Watt and I-80 in mind with that question. There's probably people who don't want to go through all the stops to get to theirs and then, they want to get on the light rail right away. And so I think that's a great idea. And the only other thing I wanted to say was excellent presentation. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, I appreciate everybody's comments. Just have a couple things. One of the comments from the public was about the changes in the city. People go from young families to older families and everything. And it kind of just jogged an idea about generational changes in the city and the needs for ever-evolving routes and how we assess whether or not particular types of neighborhoods are going to need services. So just the idea of having generational changes within the city, I think that's another really good reason why we have local transportation services, so we can know our neighborhoods and we can determine whether or not there's been some changes in the types of ridership or the needs that are going to be in some of these pockets of areas. And then also, just a quick question. It sounds like the return to work policies that are coming up, is that pushing the marketing effort to get people to realize that they can use public transportation, get to Sacramento and so on?
We haven't specifically, marketed that group of people. What I will say is, again, I've received numerous emails from folks asking that question. But there hasn't been, I think that, once you build it, it'll grow type of thing. And as the word gets out. So we are very active on keeping the website up to date. And making sure that all the new data is on there as quickly as we possibly can. And one of the things I do with every single response I give via email, for example, is I make sure I include the website, our Roseville Transit website, so people have the ability to link into there and connect up there. So I don't know if there's anything beyond that.
The reason why I bring that up is that you mentioned going to the Eschaton areas and some of the other potential ridership groups that are high in volume probably and small locality. I'm wondering if would be any value to going to the end stop for people who would use the routes all the way down to Sacramento, such as some of the bigger office buildings downtown, where there's a group of people that you're trying to target, maybe somehow a marketing push or some contact down there where we know those people are. And that's a high volume potential riders, but small locality, so could be some marketing. Just a thought, you were talking about starting at the beginning, that's here in Roseville, but where people are going to, that's at the end. I think that's another opportunity to find those people as well. So
I think that's a great idea. I was just going to mention that we're working with Sacramento Regional Transit and El Dorado Transit for the Richards Boulevard, the May-Lee Center, all of those complexes do a kind of a massive marketing campaign there, because that'll be new service for us. And I think your point is a good one. We can also look into maybe downtown Sacramento area. The nice thing about the commuter service, it's very easy to sell. I mean, currently we have, in the morning it takes one route, in the afternoon it's another route, and the new service now will be very simple. Wherever it drops you off, that's where it's going to pick you up. Right, it's just very easy to understand. We'll have more buses. So I think just the message itself should be appealing to people that are maybe looking for an alternative to driving. And so we can look into maybe the downtown area and see if we can do some type of joint marketing.
Yeah, I envision state employees walking into their building after an hour commute and seeing some kind of a notification, hey, take Roseville Transit, and why didn't I think of that? And have that as a good alternative. So. But very good presentation. We appreciate it very much. All right. Any other comments, questions for staff on this item? Okay. Next item is 6.4, School Crossing Guard Program. This is an informational item only. And staff, can we have your presentation?
Good evening, Commissioners. I am here today to introduce you to one of our amazing staff members at the ATO staff office. Her name is Rebecca Espenshade, and she is our Safe Routes to School coordinator, and she's going to be telling you about our School Crossing Guard program.
Good evening, Transportation Commissioners. My name is Rebecca Espenshade, and I am the Safe Routes to School coordinator for the City of Roseville. And I'm here tonight to talk about our School Crossing Guard program. Next slide, please. Thanks. The City of Roseville has had school crossing guards for over 10 years and is supported by local transportation grant funding. School crossing guards play an integral role in fostering a safe and comfortable environment for students walking and rolling to school. The visible presence of a school crossing guard can help to discourage unsafe behavior from both students and drivers. Many factors are used to determine where school crossing guards are placed. We look at whether the students crossing are in elementary, middle, or high school, the number of pedestrians using the crossing, as well as the number of vehicles going through, the history of collisions occurring at the location, whether the location is signal controlled, stop sign controlled, or uncontrolled, the speed limit for vehicles approaching the crossing, and how close the crossing is to the school. We currently have school crossing guards at 17 locations. These locations cover schools in the Roseville City School District, Dry Creek Joint Unified School District, and Eureka Union School District. Training is provided to new school crossing guards upon hire and annually prior to the start of a new school year. We also provide equipment such as LED stop paddles and reflective vests. In 2021, we established Crossing Guard Appreciation Day to encourage schools and their families to show appreciation for the school crossing guards. We chose the month of February to highlight that school crossing guards are out in any type of weather, from the heat of summer to the cold and stormy days of winter. This past February 12th, we celebrated our 4th Crossing Guard Appreciation Day with the addition of the Most Outstanding School Crossing Guard Award. We invited schools in the community to nominate a school crossing guard, and a small committee selected the winner. We had such a great response that we added a second award, the Most Outstanding Volunteer School Crossing Guard. I'd like to share the winners with you now. Philip Daw is an outstanding volunteer with the Vincel Brown Safety Patrol Team. He has served over the past 9 years, all since his daughter graduated from the 5th grade. He consistently supervises and guides the Safety Patrol students in a very positive manner and is loved by them all. Philip, thank you for all of your time and dedication. Can you please stand up and be recognized? Next slide, please. Kathy Youngs has been a school crossing guard for the City of Roseville for the past 2.5 years. She has become a widely respected member of the community around Thomas Jefferson Elementary School with a cheerful and welcoming disposition. She is friendly towards students and families, neighbors, and even dogs out for a stroll. Kathy is known to always have treats for these four-legged pedestrians. Kathy, thank you for bringing such a cheerful start and end to the school day to the families of Thomas Jefferson. Please stand up and be recognized. Before I wrap up and ask if there are any questions, I'd like to have the school crossing guards in attendance stand up to be recognized. We appreciate you keeping the students of Roseville safe in their commutes to and from school every day, rain or shine. Thank you for what you do. Stand up. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you so much for your presentation. So at this time, I'll open it up for public comment. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to provide any public comment for this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment. And commissioners, any comments or questions?
I have a comment.
Yes, we'll start with this end.
I want to thank you all. I'm in high school now. I'm a senior at Oakmont, so when you said the Oakmont comment, but I used to go to Stone Ridge, and y'all, I'm not Southern, but thank you. It makes the day so much easier, and I know that my parents, when we walk to school, they put a lot of trust, so thank you. Even though I may not have been with you, technically, but your work and volunteer for these future generation is, I know it means a lot to them, even if they don't see it and say it every single day. They'll remember you. So thank you.
Mr. George?
I don't know how to follow that. Seriously, though, thank you. I live over, just actually down the street. So I think are you the gentleman, are you over by Kaysburg? I don't know how long you've been there. I feel like it's been an eternity. But how many years? 17 years. So literally like for the major part of some of my adult life. I have driven by you hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, and rain or shine, you're out there, and I feel like you're an institution, and I feel like all of you are an institution in this town. So thank you for keeping all of our children safe. We really do appreciate what you do every day, because some days the weather is just not there, but those kids are still trucking it to school. So thank you for keeping everybody safe.
Okay, Mr. Pell?
Yeah, just echoing comments. Thanks very much for all you do. I know I'm taking my son to TK next year, so I'm looking forward to that, and looking forward to hopefully seeing some of you out there helping keep kids safe, and I think that's great. I had one comment for staff, question for staff actually. How could prospective new crossing guards who are interested in this get involved?
They can keep an eye out for when we put out a call for hire, or they could also volunteer. We do have a small group of volunteer school crossing guards too.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Radford?
Well, in a seemingly a thankless job, tonight's your night to be recognized, and thanks. You guys protect our most valuable resource, our future and our children, and I have two of them that rely on you guys to do that. So once again, echo my colleagues. Thank you.
Mr. Ropes?
Somebody that has worked in work zones and picked up litter on the side of the road, works for Caltrans. I can say there's few things more sobering than standing on the edge of traffic. And it will give you a perspective that is unlike any other. So thank you so much for what you do and what you do for our kids. Thank you.
And Mr. Roberts?
Likewise, thank you very much for what you guys do. I have two young daughters out in West Roseville, and I pass through an intersection every day on my way to work with a crossing guard. And it's very important, right? I think you can say that you're definitely keeping little kids safe out there. And I think it's really cool that the city even has and fosters a program like this, because beyond the fact that it obviously keeps kids safe on their way to school, I think it also creates a really cool sense of community here in the city of Roseville that we can all be really proud of. So thank you for everything you do.
And Mr. Stromberg?
Yeah, so I've lived in West Roseville. I now live in Highland Reserve North, and I've definitely seen you around on my days off. But you know, there's one thing I've noticed around the city is that, you know, we see people in residential neighborhoods going through at 55 miles an hour, or running stop signs, running red lights, and they aren't paying attention. They're not being very courteous. And it has been said here that children are our future. They really are the future of Roseville. They are our most precious thing, especially as parents. And so for you guys to be out there, to take the risk, to protect our kids, we can't thank you enough. So just once again, like to echo what everybody said, thank you so much for what you do. What you do is important, and we are all truly grateful. That's it.
All right. So I had a unique perspective in my prior career. I haven't met any of you individually because I work for another city, but I can tell you, as being on the front lines of some type of trying to address driver behavior, it is very frustrating, and it is dangerous, and you have to keep your head on a swivel, not turn your back to traffic, watch for, make sure you make eye contact with drivers. There's a lot of technique in what you do, and I think a lot of people need to understand that, you know, you are some of the folks that we turn over our kids to. We turn over our kids to the teachers. We also turn our kids over to you as well. So to echo my colleagues, we thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, any other comments for this agenda item? All right, seeing none. Next is 7.0 Staff Commission Report. Staff, do you have any additional informational items or updates to report?
We do not.
And Commissioners, do you have any informational items or anything to report? Mr. Stromberg?
No.
Nothing. Mr. Probst, Radford? Yes?
I got one item. I think since we last met, I just wanted to point out that the new Roseville Parkway Bridge over from Washington to Foothills has been open. I think staff did an amazing job on that, delivering that project, I believe, under budget is what I heard. And that's fantastic. One thing I didn't realize is actually a bike path connector from Industrial up to the bridge to take you over either to Washington or Roseville Parkway, which is actually really useful because it's kind of limited connections from Industrial. So I thought that was a great addition to the city. Thanks very much.
Mr. McGeorge?
Yes, so since it's Driver Appreciation Day today, my wife and I last night took the Game Day Express to the Kings game. It was our first time riding it, and we will probably never go to the Kings game any other way than by taking that.
Nice.
Our driver was Dennis. He was absolutely amazing. Give him an extra high five next time you see him because he was phenomenal. And I mean, if you haven't used it yet, it's legitimately cheaper to take two of us down there than it is to park anywhere downtown. And the weather was not great yesterday, and it was a holiday, and I didn't have to deal with any of it. We didn't have to deal with any of it. We got there safely, and it was fantastic, and I'll be using it from here on out.
Thanks for the plug.
Yeah, got you.
And Ms. Mondale?
No, I do not have any comments.
Okay. I don't have anything else as well. So 8.0, this is adjournment. Is there any commissioner that has the motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Mr. Pell?
I'll second.
Mr. McGeorge?
Sure. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? We are adjourned. Thank you so much.
You guys go next.